The season opens on a mysterious and suspenseful note in the Taichung district. Late at night, an author named Yongli is deeply immersed in her work, struggling to complete the final part of her book. In her search for inspiration, she stumbles upon a strange website called footmalls.com. This discovery feels like stepping into an entirely new world, piquing her curiosity and drawing her in. The following morning, Yongli's sister, Yongxin, arrives at her home. Finding no response at the door, she lets herself in, only to be met with a horrifying sight. Yongli is dead, her body arranged in an unusual and disturbing manner. This shocking discovery leads to the arrival of the police, who begin their investigation into the mysterious circumstances surrounding Yongli's death. Despite their thorough examination, they find no obvious signs of strangulation or struggle. The lead detective, Zhen, tries to gather information from Yongli's grieving husband, Xiangda. Overcome with emotion, Xiangda is unable to offer much help. Zhen's investigation leads him to copies of Yongli's popular book series, Farewell Home. Further probing into Yongli's laptop reveals the final draft of her last book, Farewell Forever. Zhen also discovers her recent visit to footmalls.com, but faces difficulty accessing the site. During this investigation, Yongxin enters the room, furious and overwhelmed, and confronts Xiangda with a slap. As news of Yongli's death spreads, the police delve deeper into the case. At the station, detectives discuss the peculiar cleanliness of the crime scene, noting the absence of dust prints. Zhen interrogates Yongxin and Xiangda separately. Yongxin brings attention to the manner in which Yongli was tied up, resembling a scene from Yongli's Farewell series. She suspects that the killer must be familiar with the books and recalls an incident where a fanatical book fan, angered by the belief that Yongli was distracted by her husband, threatened Xiangda's life 3 months earlier. Zhen questions Xiangda about this obsessed fan and the harassment they endured. Xiangda reveals that they had since blocked the fan. Zhen then inquires about Xiangda's heavy drinking on the night of Yongli's death. Xiangda admits to being distressed over his manuscript's rejection. Yongxin explains that she and Yongli had plans to dine together, but Yongli cancelled, citing illness. When questioned about her aggressive behavior towards Xiangda, Yongxin implies that his drunkenness the previous night might have contributed to the tragic events. Detective Zhen's investigation into Yongli's death continues to unravel a complex web of relationships and secrets. Xiangda admits to drinking heavily the night of Yongli's death, starting from the time she left at 7 o'clock. However, Zhen finds inconsistencies in their stories, leading him to suspect both Xiangda and Yongxin. When Zhen shows Yongxin a picture of Yun, Yongli's ex-boyfriend, she reveals their past relationship. Yongxin explains that Yongli was set to marry Yun, but instead chose Xiangda, whom she described as the missing part of her life. Call records indicate that Yongli's last contact was with Yun, a fact that puzzles both Yongxin and Xiangda. Zhen then visits Yun at his apartment. Yun admits to meeting Yongli on the night of her death, but claims he took her home at 11 p.m. He raises suspicions about Xiangda, mentioning that he once saw Yongli with bruises at a publishing press. Yun recounts his past with Yongli, including her struggles to find success due to her unique writing style. He helped her in her career, but after the success of her Farewell series, she left him for Xiangda. The scene then flashes back to show how Xiangda and Yongli met. Xiangda approached her for an autograph, remarking on the similarities between their writing styles, including plot and character names. This encounter sparked a connection that led to them dating. Meanwhile, the investigation reveals that Kai Xiang, the fan accused of harassing Yongli, disappeared the previous night. Yongxin decides to conduct her own investigation, speaking with Yongli's psychiatrist and Zhen's fiancé Nian, who remains tight-lipped. Zhen interrogates Nian, who notes Yongli's sleep problems. At the crime scene, Zhen discovers a published version of Yongli's final book, Farewell Forever. Suddenly, the lights go out and a masked man flees the house. Zhen pursues and corners him in a parking lot. The confrontation ends with the masked man injured and unmasked, revealing his identity as Kai Xiang. The next day, Zhen's brother Zhong arrives to assist with the case. During a dinner with Zhen and Nian, where Nian reveals their impending marriage, Zhen remains preoccupied with the case. He hands Zhong Yongli's hard disk for further investigation. Zhong's findings reveal that Xiangda also contributed to the writing of Farewell Forever. In the morning, Detective Jen receives a perplexing report. Yun, Yongli's ex-boyfriend, had returned home 3 hours after he claimed to have dropped her off. Adding to the confusion, Jen is frustrated to learn that his team has misplaced the published version of Yongli's book, Farewell Forever. Jong raises a critical question. How could there be a published copy of the book when it was supposedly still in its final draft stage? The investigation takes a dramatic turn when the autopsy lab results reveal that Yongli was pregnant at the time of her death. This discovery adds another layer to the already complex case. The group then visits Kai Xiang, the obsessive fan, in the hospital. Kai Xiang, still fixated on Yongli's final book, tells Jen that he had broken into her house in search of the book's ending, hoping to find a copy there. He recalls that the lights suddenly went off, which prompted him to flee. Jen begins to suspect that someone else might have been in the house that night. Meanwhile, Jong encounters Meijin, a co-worker from the police station, on a bus. She shares a photo of her son and discusses his habits. After their conversation, Jong receives a strange message about artificial tears. He later meets with Nian and reminisces about his own past experiences with bullying. During this conversation, he notices scars on Nian's face from defending him during a past incident. Jong then receives a message prompting him to verify Yun's alibi. That night, Yongshin watches a video of happier times with Yongli and notices a coffee stain on Yongli's dress, similar to the one she wore on the day she died. The next morning, Jong informs Jen that Yun's alibi for the night of Yongli's death has been confirmed by a photograph from a fan. Elsewhere, Nian tries on a wedding dress, while Jen expresses his determination to solve Bai Yongli's case. Xiangda, still struggling with alcohol, reminisces about the early days of his relationship with Yongli. He recalls the media's focus on her after he published his first book, with questions about her influence on his work shifting the spotlight onto her. Yongli stumbles upon a mysterious website, footmalls.com, where she shockingly discovers her unpublished book, Farewell Forever, credited to both her and Xiangda. Confused and troubled by this discovery, she doesn't have time to investigate further as Xiangda enters the room. He accuses her of publishing his work against the publisher's wishes, leading to a heated argument. In the midst of this altercation, Yongli is accidentally bruised on her forehead, explaining the injury observed by Yun. The next night, Xiangda finds a copy of Farewell Forever, which should not have been published yet. He is stunned by the book's resemblance to his own writing style. Confronting Yongli about the book, they accidentally spill a drink on it. Inexplicably, the book seems to absorb the liquid without getting wet. Yongli's narration reveals she altered the past, changing her future. The following day, Yongshin visits the police station and tells Jen that someone must have changed Yongli's clothes on the day of her death, as she wouldn't wear a stained garment. The investigation team returns to Yongli's home, where Jen discovers burnt grey cloth and blood traces on the wall. The police hurry to locate Xiangda, but they find he has already vacated his hotel room. Flashback scenes provide further insight into the characters' pasts. Yongli discusses her worsening sleep problems with Nian, expressing guilt over a sin she believes she has committed by stealing someone's future. In another flashback, following an incident involving Jong being bullied, he enters an exam hall and gets into a physical altercation with his bullies. Afterwards, Jong and Jen visit the hospital, where Jong asks Jen to deliver some items to Nian, hinting at Jen's growing interest in her. This moment marks the beginning of Jen and Nian's relationship. In the present day, Yongshin, leveraging her influence as a popular live streamer, decides to use her platform to share a critical update with her audience. In a dramatic reveal, she accuses Xiangda of being the killer and implores her viewers to help locate him. Xiangda, watching the live stream, joins the comment section, strongly accusing Yongli of stealing his future. Meanwhile, Jong successfully traces Xiangda's phone location and promptly sends the details to Detective Jen, who immediately heads to the location. As the live stream concludes, Xiangda contacts Yongshin directly, asserting that Yongli was a thief. He insists that he is the only one who truly understood Yongli and shockingly claims to have proof of his assertions. Nian, who knew Yongli personally, begins to suspect that Xiangda's claims might hold some truth. She recalls a conversation with Yongli, where Yongli mentioned her draft being rejected and her computer crashing, followed by the appearance of a football logo. Intriguingly, Yongli then discovered a best-selling novel titled Farewell Life from the Future. She read the entire series in one sitting, then wrote them as her own, leading to her success. In a subsequent live stream by Yongshin, the situation escalates dramatically. Xiangda is seen sitting on the edge of a building as Yongshin films. Detective Jen, informed by Nian, races to the scene. Upon arrival, Xiangda confesses to Jen that he is the true author of the Farewell series. The police reach the rooftop just as Xiangda recounts a confrontation with Yongli, where he accused her of stealing his work and altering crucial plot scenes. He bitterly notes that she claimed not to love him and demands the return of the books she allegedly bought from the future. Yongli, according to Xiangda, admitted to having only the final part of the series, as she had burned the previous two. She had proposed adding his name to the credits to share the acclaim, but he had refused. Xiangda hands over the last copy of the series to Jen, mentioning that Yongli's actions relegated him to a third-rate writer. He expresses a desperate need for recognition and validation, wanting the world to know that he was the talented author, not Yongli. On the fateful day of Yongli's death, Xiangda, consumed by anger and jealousy, confronted Yongli after seeing her with Yun. The situation escalated when Yongli revealed her pregnancy, which Xiangda cruelly dismissed, accusing her of manipulation. Their argument reached a boiling point, and in a moment of rage, Xiangda pushed Yongli down the stairs. Immediately regretting his actions, Xiangda, in a state of despair, consumed numerous sleeping pills, intending to end his life alongside Yongli. In the present, filled with guilt and remorse, Xiangda stands on the edge of a building, contemplating ending his life. As he teeters on the brink, Zhong, in a desperate attempt to reason with him, suggests searching for footmalls.com to buy books. Xiangda manages to find the website on his second attempt and is shocked to see a new book listed under his name, titled The Life of a Prisoner. Overwhelmed by the situation, Xiangda loses his balance and falls off the edge. However, Jen manages to save him by holding Yongli's banner in the air, preventing Xiangda's fatal fall. In a parallel storyline, the series portrays the life of a young boy named Xiao, whose parents lovingly document the significant moments of his life. Tragically, Xiao's life is cut short in an accident. Xiao's mother, Meizhen, copes with her grief by recording videos of herself making a sandwich on Xiao's phone and sending them to Xiao's classmates, a ritual she performs almost every day. Xiao's father suggests that Meizhen accompany his nephew Wei abroad, but she declines, choosing to stay and cherish her memories with Xiao. After a long day at the station, on the day Xiangda reveals everything, Meizhen returns home and resorts to sleeping pills to find comfort in sleep. In a final twist, as Jen holds onto Xiangda's hand during the attempted Xiangda urges Jen to explore footmalls and then lets go, expecting to fall to his death. However, he lands on a mattress, miraculously surviving. After Xiangda's near-fatal fall, Detective Jen is safely pulled back onto the rooftop, where Nian embraces him, relieved by his narrow escape. In the aftermath of these harrowing events, Yongshin approaches Jen, seeking his assistance to clear her sister Yongli's name. Jen agrees to help, driven by a sense of justice and compassion. However, Zhong calls Jen with a startling observation. Catching Xiangda at the speed he was falling seemed impossible, hinting at an underlying mystery yet to be uncovered. Zhong reflects on a painful memory from his past when he tried smoking after being beaten, only to suffer further beatings as a result. Nian visits him to return scar-removing cream, urging him to avoid provoking others and expressing a desire to be friends with him. In the present, Yongshin and the police analyze the similarities between Xiangda's book and Yongli's writings. They find substantial evidence supporting Xiangda's claims, especially when the printing press staff express doubts about Yongli's ability to write such a compelling book. Meanwhile, Xiao's father seeks therapy from Nian, expressing his deep longing for his deceased son. He shares his concerns about Meizhen's mental health, which deteriorates around Xiao's birthday each year. At the police station, Meizhen experiments with artificial tears she purchased, which mysteriously flow back into her eyes, providing her comfort. However, Xiao's father receives a call from an upset parent, complaining about Meizhen's messages to their child, leaving him frustrated and angry with his wife. Later, Meizhen sees Xiao in her office and is overwhelmed with emotion, unable to believe her eyes. As Jiangda awaits interrogation, he is struck with inspiration for a new book, confident that he will pen his next bestseller from prison. Nian informs Jen that Jiangda genuinely believes in his newfound purpose, but Jen remains skeptical, dismissing the idea of the Footmall's website and considering both Yongli and Xiangda delusional. In another scene, Maijin steps out of her office intending to bring Xiao, whom she believes to be present, a video game. However, upon her return, she finds he has vanished. Distraught, she shares this experience with her husband, but he is skeptical and suggests she seek medical help. Maijin declares her inability to move on from Xiao's loss, which frustrates her husband, causing him to leave in anger. The following day, Maijin, driven by her longing for Xiao, discreetly visits his former school. There, she delusionally sees him playing with other children and joins them, fully immersed in her vision. Concurrently, Yongxin, craving for her sister, continues to send messages to her, only to discover that they are being read by someone. Zhong, attempting to uncover the mysteries behind futmalls.com struggles to trace its IP address. He discovers the messages Yongxin has been sending to Yongli as he has access to Yongli's computer. In a parallel development, Maijin is apprehended and brought to the police station after being caught at the school. Xiao's father encounters Yongxin in a cafe, where they share their experiences of loss. Yongxin proposes the idea of parallel worlds, suggesting that their loved ones might still be alive in an alternate universe. Their conversation is interrupted by a call informing Xiao's father of Maijin's arrest. At the police station, Jen tries to console Maijin, who pleads with him to find Xiao. Xiao's father arrives and takes her home, where he reveals his plans for them to move abroad for a fresh start. Maijin, however, is reluctant to leave, feeling that Xiao is not with them there. Later that night, Yongxin hosts a live stream, during which Zhong visits her and hands her Yongli's laptop. They engage in a deep discussion about the existence of parallel universes, with Yongxin theorizing that Footmalls might be a portal to such a realm. The next day, Xiao's father tries to persuade Maijin to see a doctor. Maijin accuses him of being jealous of her ability to see Xiao, which he firmly denies. In a moment of revelation, she connects her visions of Xiao to the artificial teardrops she had been using. Upon inspecting the product, she discovers it is supposedly manufactured in 2046, a shocking 25 years into the future. Maijin applies the drops and heads to Xiao's room, where she sees him again, slightly older. Overwhelmed by emotion, she goes to make him a sandwich. As the mysteries continue to unfold, Nian delves into Xiao's case and learns about his tragic death a decade ago. Meanwhile, Maijin cherishes her time with Xiao. She captures moments with him, taking pictures and selfies, immersing herself in the illusion of his presence. Xiao's father stumbles upon this scene, finding Maijin seemingly talking to herself in Xiao's bedroom. Concurrently, Yongxin explores Footmalls and comes across webcam deals. The narrative then shifts to show Maijin witnessing Xiao grow into a teenager who is heading out with friends. Later, back in her office, Maijin attempts to purchase more artificial tears but is unable to access Footmalls. Nian pays her a visit in her office during this time. Yongxin receives the webcam she ordered from a mysterious teenager and discreetly takes his photo as he departs. Maijin, consumed by her experiences with the artificial tears, shares her story with Nian but refuses to part with the drops, even for laboratory analysis. Yongxin presents the webcam to Zhong, who informs her that it's stolen goods. She then shows him the photo of the teenager, hoping it might lead to more information about Footmalls. That night, Xiao's father discovers Maijin's obsession with the artificial tears. Despite her attempts to persuade him to use them, he firmly refuses and leaves the room. The next day, the police apprehend the shady teenager involved in the webcam deal. In a surprising turn of events, Xiao's father decides to try the artificial tears and, for the first time, experiences a vision of Xiao. Shocked and unsettled by this, he disposes of the drops in the toilet. An emotional Maijin confesses to Nian her guilt over Xiao's death, but Xiao's father intervenes, assuming responsibility for the tragedy. He recounts the fateful day when Xiao, playing noisily with toys in the car, was asked to step out, leading to the accident that took his life. When Maijin learns that the artificial tears have been discarded, she reacts with anger towards her husband. However, the couple manages to reconcile overnight. Maijin decides to join her husband abroad, seeking a new beginning. Before leaving, she visits the teenager resembling Xiao, giving him a final embrace on what would have been her son's birthday. In a parallel storyline, a boy watches a live broadcast of a girl reading a love letter he wrote. His colleagues plan a party but exclude him, finding him too quiet and odd. The girl from the broadcast arrives at a square for a date with the letter's writer, but upon seeing the boy from afar, she leaves, ignoring his phone calls. Detective Jen's investigation into the mysterious artificial tears deepens as he learns the company listed on the product doesn't recognize it. Zhong calls Jen with a crucial discovery. Yongli had made 2 transactions to a non-existent account, adding another layer of mystery to the case. The narrative shifts to a boy named Jean, who eagerly receives a message from Foot Malls about a package delivery. Rushing home, Jean opens the package to find a doll-like paper figure with instructions to soak it in water at a specific temperature. Remarkably, the figure enlarges into a life-sized woman resembling Yo-Yo, the live broadcast girl he admires. The woman, introducing herself as Jai, kisses Jan. Elsewhere, Zhong and Yongxin enjoy a drink together, while Jen and Nian have a Valentine's Day date. Meanwhile, popular broadcaster Huamei is ambushed by a masked man after finishing a live stream. Jen's co-worker sees the event and tells Jen about it. The police rush to Huamei's house, but they arrive too late. Huamei, now in the hospital, had been forced by the masked man to confess her dishonesties, including cheating and false product endorsements. Nian's parents express disappointment that Jen couldn't join them. Her mother warns her about the loneliness of married life, but her father defends Jen's commitment. Concurrently, Huamei is hospitalized, and various people linked to her sexually gather at the police station. Yongxin is interrogated about a public quarrel with Huamei, recalling an incident where Huamei accused her of plagiarism, leading to a heated confrontation. Jie and Zhan grow closer, with Jie revealing she is in sync with Zhan's feelings, particularly his admiration for Yo-Yo. She asserts that Zhan likes her even more than Yo-Yo. Nian, intrigued by Foot Malls, orders a scar-removing cream from the site and finds it compatible with her body after testing it in a lab. Zhan, meanwhile, experiences a shocking moment as Jie begins to disintegrate while he applies essential oil to her back. In a surprising turn, Yo-Yo acts erratically during a live stream and collapses, the masked man reappearing to abduct her. The police, watching the live stream, helplessly witness the kidnapping. Detective Jen and his brother Zhong are on high alert as they watch surveillance footage of Zhan confronting Yo-Yo. They decide to visit Zhan for questioning. Zhan asserts his innocence regarding Yo-Yo's kidnapping, but mentions his awareness of a malfunction with her sponsored product. At the police station, a comprehensive discussion unfolds. Zhen's colleague, Officer Gua, is assigned to keep a watchful eye on Zhan's residence. Meanwhile, Nian continues to use the scar-removing cream from Foot Malls, noticing a significant reduction in her scars. Zhen, suspecting Zhan as the primary perpetrator, shares his suspicions with Nian, who strongly defends Zhan. Their conversation escalates into an argument, leading to a tense night with Nian turning her back on Jen. The next day, Zhong presents Jen with messages from a user named Darklight, who sent chilling messages to both Yo-Yo and Huemei before their abductions. The messages were traced to an internet cafe near the victims' houses. Jen, recalling the shoes of the suspect, suspects Zhan due to recognizing his shoes in his apartment. However, Zhong defends Zhan, citing his exemplary academic record and lack of incriminating evidence. Yongxin visits Huemei in the hospital, who expresses her fear for Yo-Yo's safety. During his visit to Huemei, Jen learns that Dark Knight had also sent her numerous personal messages. Huemei recalls seeing a package with the Foot Malls logo in the kidnapper's van. Zhong and Officer Gua tail Zhan and Jie to an amusement park, noting Jie's resemblance to Yo-Yo. Nian, learning of Zhen's ongoing surveillance of Zhan, confronts him in his office. Displeased with Zhen's actions, she leaves in a huff after he advises her to keep her distance from Zhan. In the meantime, Yongxin launches a public awareness campaign to find Yo-Yo. She plays a song in her video that had previously terrified Huemei, who recognized it as the kidnapper's humming tune. Yongxin informs Zhen of this discovery, explaining her dedication to the investigation and her connection to Foot Malls. She boldly suggests using herself as bait to lure the kidnapper. Despite Zhen and Zhong's objections, citing the plan's high risk, Yongxin is adamant. To ensure her safety, additional personnel are deployed for her protection, and Zhong provides her with a nano-positioning system necklace as a precaution. Later, Yongxin instructs Zhong to keep his men at a distance to avoid scaring off the kidnapper. Defying police surveillance, Yongxin records a video while walking, revealing she received a package that morning with Yongli's book Farewell Forever and a map pinpointing a specific location. She follows the map to a suspicious van, where she is suddenly confronted by the masked man. Meanwhile, Nian, after showering, panics when she notices the scar on her face has grown, making her face look distorted. In distress, she calls Jen, but he is preoccupied with tracking Yongshin, whose GPS signal is moving rapidly before abruptly stopping. Nian hastily applies more scar cream, managing to reduce the scar's size. The police team, following Yongshin's nano-positioning necklace, discovers it along with her bag, but Yongshin is missing. In a grim setting, Yongshin is tied to a chair in an abandoned house, facing the menacing masked man. Desperate for information, she inquires about Yo-Yo's fate. The masked man films a video, claiming he will lead her to Yo-Yo. A flashback reveals Yo-Yo's frantic escape attempt before being overpowered in a rundown yard. At a restaurant, Nian experiences a nightmarish vision in the mirror, seeing her face gruesomely scarred. She awakens in terror, realizing it was only a dream. Back at the police station, detectives analyze Yongshin's final video, uncovering crucial clues. Their investigation leads them to the plastic factory, the scene of the abductions, where they find Yongshin and Yo-Yo. The two victims are rushed to the hospital. Haunted by her ordeal, Yongshin awakens from another nightmare, trapped in a maze, pursued by the masked man. Jong reassures her of her safety, but Yongshin is racked with guilt, believing her actions could have prevented Yo-Yo's death. During a date at a high-end restaurant, Nian is unsettled as she recognizes the place from her disturbing nightmare, where she saw green vines growing over the food and even engulfing Jen. Sensing her discomfort, Jen decides to take her home and suggests a doctor's visit the next day. However, in the morning, Nian dismisses the need for medical attention and encourages Jen to go to work. At the police station, investigators make a startling discovery. The bracelet belonging to Yongshin, Yo-Yo's earring, and Huemei's necklace are all missing. Yongshin later visits Nian's clinic, where Nian experiences the unnerving illusion of plants growing, but she realizes it's all in her head. Jan is also summoned to the police station, but they find no incriminating evidence on him, leading to his release. Following this, Yongshin and Nian encounter Jan, and Yongshin persuades Nian to help her visit Jan's house. There, they are surprised to find Jie, who is an exact copy of Yo-Yo. Jan deceives them, claiming he met Jie in a chat room on Footmalls. Yongshin sneaks into Jan's room and discovers his collection of favorite songs, linking it to the melody that triggered Huemei's breakdown. When Jie enters the room, she confronts Yongshin about her actions. Concurrently, DNA test results from the station hint at Jan's potential involvement in the crimes. Jen and Jong rush to arrest Jan. During the arrest, Jie attempts to intervene, but is pushed aside, causing her face to distort. In a tense moment, Jan grabs Jong's gun, leading to a chaotic struggle. Amidst the commotion, Nian, now delusional, reaches for the gun, but Jen shoots Jie, revealing her true form as a doll. Jean, under interrogation, denies involvement in the kidnappings and claims he purchased Jie from Footmalls. Meanwhile, Nian's condition deteriorates as the scar cream causes the scar to spread rapidly. Jen finds her collapsed and rushes her to the hospital, where a tumor is discovered in her brain, causing hallucinations. Jen spends the week by Nian's side, struggling with his emotions and even clashing with Jong. The news breaks of Jan's arrest for kidnapping internet celebrities, but a mysterious, disfigured man with a radio that tunes into the future suggests he is the actual culprit.